flag here for, a short time, but proud to be at Penn State. Happy to be at Penn State.
The Nittany Lions have 2 more duels before the playoffs. They're currently 10-0 and sit as the best team in the country. Before the duel on Monday, Sanderson added another achievement to his ever-growing collection, getting his 200th dual victory as head coach against the Iowa Hawkeyes on Friday night. Reporting in studio, I'm Nico Rodriguez.
Coming up after the break, we'll show you highlights of Penn State basketball's comeback win against Iowa.
Plus, Penn State men's lacrosse bounces back at Panzer Stadium. We have the highlights from the win.
But for now, let's look at some upcoming high school wrestling events.
Before the break, we covered Penn State's success in the BJC on the wrestling mats. Let's switch to the basketball courts as we take a look at how Penn State fared against Iowa. The BJC was ready to go Thursday night as the Nittany Lions were in the building. Early in the first half, DeMarco Dunn drives by the Hawkeyes' Josh Dix. Penn State takes a 5-0 lead. Less than 4 minutes remain.
Coming up on After the Whistle, high school basketball playoffs are underway in District 6. We'll have a look at several girls' basketball games in the area.
Plus, the District 6 wrestling tournament continues. We'll have highlights from the 2A and 3A semifinals and finals.
And Penn State men's basketball returns to its former home tonight. We've got live coverage from Rec Hall and all that and more coming up on After the Whistle.
Hello, and welcome back to After the Whistle. I'm Bronwyn Leiber.
And I'm Will Dirksen. Today, we'll dive into the first round of the PIAA basketball playoffs and continue our coverage of District 6 wrestling.
Before we get into high school sports, Penn State men's basketball returns to its old stomping grounds.
Justin Chevalella is live at Rec Hall to give us a preview of tonight's game. Justin?
Well, Will and Bronwyn, they say home is where the heart is. And based off the reaction of fans, players, coaches, media, the heart may have never left Rec Hall behind me. Tonight, Penn State men's basketball returns home to Rec Hall to play number 12 Illinois in a Big Ten matchup. It's easily one of the most anticipated matchups of Penn State's season and maybe their distant or recent future. We'll have more on the matchup coming up later in the show. For now, back to you guys.
Thanks, Justin. We'll have more on tonight's game in a bit.
We shift to high school basketball now in our quarterfinal round coverage in the girls 1A bracket with 1 seed Bishop Guilfoyle hosting 8 seed Purchase Line. BG started fast, jumping out to a big lead when Alana Leitner muscles this rebound and finds Gia Adams, who launches the ball like a missile to Amberlyn Petreka with the nice finish. More from her later. The Dragons were scoreless until almost midway through the second quarter and trailed 46-3 at the half. Late in the third, Katie Weaver flashes alongside the baseline and into the corner and drains a three, made it 58-3. Here's Petreka again with the pump fake and shimmy. Nothing but net there. She finished with 13. BG was dominant defensively and didn't have many empty trips the other way as Mary Zhang finishes it off with the bank. The Lady Marauders cruise to a 69-14 win to keep their chase for their first district title since 2021 going. The Dragon season comes to an end while Bishop Guilfoyle has a chance to clinch a state playoff bid with a win at home against Bishop Carroll in the semifinal on Saturday.
Staying in the 1A postseason bracket, number 7 Ferndale traveled to Bald Eagle High School to face the second-seeded St. Joseph's Academy Wolfpack. Before the game, the St. Joe's Academy student section getting rowdy. They were in full force. End of the first quarter, Naomi Crispin drills the three-pointer off the pass from Alexia Lukovic. Nothing but net for her. St. Joe's with the lead through the first. Minutes later, St. Joe's with some ball movement. Crispin buries another three from deep. The Wolfpack continue to make their presence known. Ferndale wants to get on the board. Deja Chapman finds Mason Setringos, who makes the mid-range jumper. St. Joe's Academy leads 37-12 at the half, and off of the rebound, Crispin pulls up from three. So nice. She made it thrice. That'll wake up the student section. The Wolfpack howled over the Yellow Jackets in the first round, defeating them 68-18. St. Joseph's Academy advances to the District 6 1A semifinal round and will take on Williamsburg on Saturday. For Ferndale, its season comes to a close with a first-round exit and an 8-15 record.
We're joined by Mifflin County's assistant basketball coach, Adam Sheets, to give us a preview of the rest of the PIAA District 6 playoffs. Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bronwyn.
With District 6 playoffs beginning, how's the bracket looking after the first round of games?
I think it looks really interesting. I think a lot of people say that the best basketball in Pennsylvania is played in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, but there's a lot of great basketball in District 6, a lot of great teams, a lot of very different teams and different styles, and they've seen each other a lot this year. Most of these teams have played multiple times, which makes these matchups, your second or third time around, very interesting.
Let's start a little more with the boys' side. What teams in District 6 should we be looking out for to potentially make a run?
I think there's a lot of great teams to look out for. I think the 5A bracket looks really interesting. Hollidaysburg, a very good team on the boys' side, as well as Selinsgrove and Central Mountain, who will play tonight in the 5A semifinals. A very interesting matchup. They played a great game earlier this year. And then at 6A, State College and Mifflin County had a very interesting thing, because I mentioned that a lot of these teams have seen each other this year. They have not. They have not played each other, which makes things very interesting, being in different conferences. So should be an interesting matchup there. Obviously, as Mifflin County's assistant coach, I have a little bias there on who I think might win that game, but two really good teams, really interesting matchup to see there in 6A. And Bishop Guilfoyle in 1A. You talked about them on the girls' side, but their boys' team as well. Very, very good, very competitive. Going to be a tough out for anybody at single A.
There certainly will be some great matchups there. Now, on the other side of the bracket, as far as the girls' teams go, any teams standing out to you?
Yeah, I think Blair County has really stood out a lot this year. We'll start with Bishop Guilfoyle. You saw him early in the first highlight, you read, Bronwyn, just a really, really good team, complete team. They're going to run into a tough team in St. Joe's Academy, who we also saw, but a very, very interesting matchup. Bishop Guilfoyle has been good for years. They've been able to get a lot of talent there and be very, very successful. So I think Bishop Guilfoyle, definitely the top team to watch out for in single A. Then you move to 5 and 6A, Hollidaysburg and Altoona. Very, very interesting matchup. They played earlier this year. They will not play in districts because of the different qualifications, 6A for Altoona, 5A for Hollidaysburg, but very, very interesting to see. Hollidaysburg going to go through Shikellamy, who had a great win yesterday in the championship on Saturday, and Altoona playing State College. This will be the third time those teams played. They really know each other. Very similar matchup. It's going to be tough. So those three teams stand out as probably your favorites to potentially make a run, but definitely not a gimme for them to get out of District 6. It's going to be a very tough matchup for all of them, whether it be St. Joe's for Bishop Guilfoyle, Hollidaysburg going up against Shikellamy, or, of course, Altoona having to deal with that State College team. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's able to come out. And if they do, they're very dangerous when they get to the state playoffs.
It'll be interesting for sure. Thank you again, Adam. Lots of great games coming in this postseason for these high schools. Coming up, we'll have high school wrestling highlights from District 6 AA and AAA championships.
Plus, we'll take a look at how Penn State basketball and lacrosse fared this past week.
But for now, here are some basketball scores from around District 6.
Welcome back to After the Whistle, brought to you by Com Radio, the Center County Report, and Penn State's chapter of Awesome.
Now we take a look into Saturday's 2A and 3A District 6 wrestling semifinals and finals. We will start off with 2A semifinals and finals. Kicking off the recap is the 114 Bald Eagle area's Caden Judas, who faced off against Richland's Brady Kostick. Judas won with a takedown in the first period and reversal in the second. Judas went on to win the championship by a 6-2 decision.
Now to the 121 weight class. West Branch's Landon Bainey swept Penns Valley's Jack Darlington by tech fall with 3 takedowns. Bainey went on to the final in his weight class, winning by default.
Now moving on, in the 133, Bishop McCourt and Penn State commit Mason Gibson dominated Forest Hill's Hunter Forcelani in the semifinals with 10 takedowns and 2 escapes. He was not getting back up from that matchup. Gibson moved on to the final round where Penns Valley Colton Shunk put up a fight in the first period before Gibson absolutely ran away with it for the rest with 5 takedowns and 2 near falls to take home the 133 final score reading 23-9.
Now we go to the 152 weight class. Penns Valley and fellow Penn State commit Ty Watson lost in the semifinals to Penn Cambria's Trent Hoover after Hoover took him down in the 4th period. Watson held on for dear life but could not escape Hoover's grasp. Hoover advances to the final. He'll face the top seed, number 1, Melvin Miller, in the title fight, and the bout came down to the 3rd period. Miller led 1-0 going in and secured the title on a takedown with 57 seconds remaining.
Certainly an exciting matchup down to the wire there. Now capping off our highlight reel is Bald Eagle area's Caleb Close, who won by decision over Huntington's Andrew McGonigal in the 189 finals. Close controlled the bout with an escape and takedown in the 2nd period, then near-falled in the final 2 minutes. By the end of the tournament, the final winners for every weight class were announced. Here are the winners from the 107 weight class to the 145. Now here are your winners from the 152 weight class to the 285.
Now to our coverage of 3A wrestling. We begin in the 107 weight class. State College's Noah Young defeated Mifflin County's Andrew Alexander with 2 escapes and a takedown. Young is going to the finals, but who's he gonna face? On the other side of the 107 bracket, Central Mountain's Gavin Heverly won by decision over Hollidaysburg's Braden Sidney. So I guess Heverly had a heavenly performance, if you will. So it's Young and Heverly in the final round. Heverly got the win with 3 takedowns and a reversal. Heverly is your winner in the 107 weight classification.
He certainly was in a beautiful matchup there. Now in the semi of the 145, State College Pearson Manville brawled with Mifflin County Colby Saylor. Manville won the bout 7-1 after the first period, getting the absolute bridge there, not allowing him to escape the circle. Now in the 160, State College Asher Cunningham took down Hollidaysburg Aiden Schnink 9-2 by Tech Falls in the opening period, just absolutely running the points there and showing dominant control. Asher Cunningham grabbed another win for State College with a 23-8 blowout win in the 160 finals over Mifflin County. Deacon Schaefer taking that title for the win.
Keeping up with the finals round, Dalton Perry, your winner in the 139 class from Central Mountain. And now we go to the 172. Mifflin County's Avery Arand all over Mitchell Barriner from Hollidaysburg. He wins by decision. Arand is your winner in the 172 class. So here's our full list of winners from the 107 to 145 weight classifications. And here's the list of winners from 152 to 285. Coming up after the break, we'll show you highlights of Penn State's dominant win versus Pitt, as well as highlights from Nittany Lions men's and women's basketball.
Plus, we'll preview Penn State men's basketball's return to Rec Hall.
But for now, let's look at the upcoming wrestling regionals schedule. We're back here on After the Whistle to bring you Penn State men's and women's basketball, as well as Nittany Lions women's lacrosse.
We take you now to Penn State men's basketball versus Michigan State Spartans. Penn State faced off against Michigan State last week in a Valentine's Day matchup at the Bryce Jordan Center. Midway through the first half, Michigan State has a commanding lead entering this arena, preparing for this matchup. Nick Kern loops it around his back just to lose control, and it's recovered by Jaden Akins, who books it down the court for a windmill of a dunk there. 2 minutes later, Jameel Brown brings it around the paint and hands it off to Ace Baldwin, who gives a little hezzy there and just centers up to let it fly, putting it away for three for Penn State, trying to gain some ground back there. Now into the second, Kanye Clary tries to bring the ball up, but gives his arms a little flare, getting recovered by A.J. Hogard, who floats up the court to Tyson Walker for an easy 2 off their fast break. Look at that statement of a ball placement. Later, Baldwin shoots a bounce pass to Kern. He reaches for the Stars and sends it home for a dunk, giving that rim a little hang there. Michigan State would go on to win this matchup against Penn State 80-72. It's a special occasion for the Nittany Lions with their return to Rec Hall, the arena they used to call home. However, Penn State will be without one key player. Justin Chevaleva joins us with more from Rec Hall. Justin?
Well, Bronwyn, that is right. Penn State's leading offensive scorer is gone. He's no longer with the program. Mike Rhodes said on Monday that star sophomore guard Kanye Clary has been dismissed from the team and will no longer be with them the rest of the season. Clary was averaging 16.7 points per game as he really started to blossom with more playing time in his second year with the Nittany Lions. The Nittany Lions will have to look elsewhere for their offense starting tonight against number 12, Illinois. Illinois has 4 double-digit scorers, led by Terrence Shannon Jr. and his 21.4 points per game. For the Nittany Lions to keep pace, they'll have to really focus on the defensive end. Led by Naismith Defensive Player of the Year watch list honoree Ace Baldwin Jr., the Nittany Lions have had no problem causing turnovers. They lead the Big Ten with over 15 caused turnovers per game and with 8.7 steals per game. The issue for the Nittany Lions is generating the offense in the loss of Clary. Ace Baldwin himself is the other double-digit scorer for the Nittany Lions prior to Clary's departure with 14 points per game. Look for maybe Nick Kern Jr. or Zach Hicks, Puff Johnson, or DeMarco Dunn to help fill in the role. The Nittany Lions and Fighting Illini tip off at 6:30 here behind me as the Nittany Lions return to Rec Hall. They return home tonight. Now back to you guys.
Thanks, Justin. The Penn State Lady Lions look to get back in the win column as they faced Illinois Thursday night in the BJC. Penn State searched for their first win in February as the Fighting Illini look for their 6th Big Ten win of the season. Early first quarter, Leilani Kapanis just cooks the goose of an Illinois player with the steal and the bucket. Penn State with the 4-2 lead. Later in the first quarter, Genesis Bryant finds Gretchen Dolan. Her three-pointer gives Illinois the lead back. Second quarter now, Adalia McKenzie had 18 for the Illini, including that, count it, and 1 for her. But late in the first half, Mariah Murray, swish,
Beautiful
too
shot.
easy. Too easy for Mariah Murray. Cuts the deficit to 3. However, this long jumper by Kendall Bostic in the second half gives Illinois the lead back. They would not give it up. The Fighting Illini pull away in the second half and defeat Penn State 86-71. With the win and an upset of number 14 Indiana this past Monday, Illinois sits at 13-12. Following the loss and another to Maryland Sunday, the Lady Lions now ride a 5-game losing streak and are 16-10 heading into their recall game Thursday against Ohio State.
After losing to Colorado on Friday, Penn State continued their homestand against interstate rival Pitt on Tuesday. The 1-1 Pittsburgh Panthers headed to Happy Valley this week to take on the 1-1 Nittany Lions. Starting off in the first quarter, Kristen O'Neill juking around the defense to score her first of the night. She would end up scoring 3 more as the game went on, and the Nittany Lions led 1-0. Jumping to the third quarter with an easy stick and drive, Peyton Wainman scored her 3rd of the night, giving her a hat trick with lots of hugs to go around there. Penn State led 10-2 over the Panthers. Now with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Pitt's Jenna Hendrickson played a run of duck, duck, goose to score and make it 12-4. Penn State still leading. Emma Kelly is now going to be handing it off to Megan Murray, where she finishes off the game for Penn State with a goal, running it up there just to plop it in. And not only that, but a bit of a mic drop, and following that, a stick drop as well, to make the final score for Penn State 13-5. The Panthers now fall to 1-2, while the Nittany Lions go up 2-1. Pitt will take on Boston College at home on Saturday, while Penn State will stay at home and face Princeton on Sunday. Now, Will, talking about those rec hall matchups, are you going to see the women play?
I will be at the women's game tomorrow night, and the importance of this one cannot be understated. Penn State has lost its last 5. Their back's against the wall, and the last time they played Ohio State, they lost in overtime. Might the Lady Lions strike back on Thursday night?
Time will tell.
Well, that's all for this week's edition of After the Whistle. Tune in next week for more coverage of District 6 and Penn State sports. I'm Will Dirksen.
And I'm Bronwyn Leiber. For more updates about our show and our coverage of games, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATWPSU. We'll see you next week here on After the Whistle.